Hi, my name is Billy Hadi Subrata, Smartly student intake back in May 2019, and welcome to my presentations. Today's topic is about Brazilian stagflations back in 2011. So what is stagflations exactly? So stagflations is a difficult economic situations due to high inflations, which is basically against the Keynesian's economic models, while in the same times they also have a high unemployment rate. Now this is a very tricky situations because the people are poor. However, the price of the goods it's keep rising, so there is no purchasing power whatsoever, and it will be taking a lot of times until obviously the situations can be neutralized. So before to begins into that ones, I just like to re-emphasize again and to remind you that Brazil as a country is rich in natural resources. They have like a lot of oil and iron ore deposits. Also in the same time, they have like a huge populations at more than 200 million people. However, it does not translate everything into the economy because the people in there, the labor is not exactly efficient, and in terms of the service sectors, is not exactly um, aligns with the GDP growth targets. So what happened was back in 2011, because of these difficult economic situations, the Brazilian real currency started to fall. And when the currency started to fall, um, it will increase the import costs. And when you have like a high import cost, it will shoot up the price, and which becomes the reasons why Brazil have like a high inflation rate in this case. Also, while in the same times, the governments run into the deficits because of a high government spendings for some things that not exactly productive, some things that used for a welfare, or some things that used for um, not exactly into like building an infrastructures or into the economy. So what Tombini did, which is the central bank governors of Brazil's, so he raised the interest rates to tackle the high inflation rate and allowing the external factors to rebalance the economy. And it worked quite well because the inflation rate was managed to be controlled, and the price increase also a lot less. However, it's not exactly going to be the solutions for the mediums to longer terms, because though the monetary policy quite strong, so I mean like to control the inflations, but the main issue of Brazilian's economy is actually from the fiscal policy and the structural policy. So it's not just like the monetary policy or expansions that need to be done. Yes, it's important, but it's not everything. So what I mean by that is what the Brazilian governments and Tombini should do is to uh, refuse the tax, the federal tax, the income tax, personal uh, income tax, the consumption tax, as well as the corporate tax. Have a look in what sort of formula for that tax for the peoples to have like more purchasing powers, and in the same time as well, um, the governments and Tombini should intervene by increasing the government spendings more into the infrastructures to stimulate the economy. Why it is important is because you create more jobs by doing that. You're also going to reduce the high unemployment rates into a much more healthy level. And also the second important note in here is to uh, run the economies with a free market economy and allocates the labors into a much more efficient sector. So basically, what you need to uh, focus on when you see this sort of situation is basically deregulates the some of the economic rule, because it might create a bottlenecks for the monetary expansions and for the country to grow in terms of GDP. And knowing that Brazil also have like a high bureaucracy, it's also very important as well as to reduce the red tapes, reduce the the corruptions within the governments, and to make sure that the monies that been injected into the economy can translate into a job creation sector or some things that can contribute into an export Now it is very interesting because Brazil's knowing that this country have a high um, populations, it should utilize the labors into a much more efficient way. So knowing that these situations is obviously not that simple to be solved, it's always good to applying the monetary expansions policy as well as the fiscal policy and the structural policy from the labors as well in the same times, not just like one policy at a time, but it has to be done straight away with monetary, fiscals, and structurals to be refused and conducted in the same times. So in conclusions, the Brazilian stagflation is a difficult situation because it forced the governments and the central bank governments to obviously make a difficult decisions to be made. It's high unemployment rates and also high inflation rates. So in to recap everything that what we've just discussed about the stagflations, the solutions for Tombini is first of all, I mean, like he was right to increase the interest rate to control the inflations in the country because it straight away is going to reduce the demand curve. But what more important is actually the from the supply side of things, you need to be able to allocate the labors into a much more productive way, while in the same time as well, Brazil has to increase the engineering sectors by increasing the automations through to export their natural resources like iron ore and natural gas as well as oils, and create more like into a value added products, not just like raw materials. If Brazil's focus more on the investment and export, then by doing that they will escape the stagflation situations. And also in the same times need to be cooperates with the between the public and the private sectors to re-inject into the economy by investing in the infrastructures like building like port, bridge, rail, road, airports. By doing that, it will obviously reduce the logistic cost because everything becomes more efficient by moving one products to the next. So all these combinations will obviously help Brazil's to escape the stagflations. I think that's pretty much the case of the Brazilian stagflations. I do really hope that you enjoy my presentations, and thank you very much for listening.